Hi guys, I'm Pico, and in this video we'll be creating a Django starter project with the purpose of saving ourselves so much time. A starter project is a project that's created with the purpose of being cloned in the future and used as a starting point for other projects. Typically, a Django starter would come with a custom user model already defined in its own app, a base.html file already created, static directory already set up, and then people would add other stuff depending on their preferences. In our case, we will be adding Tailwind CSS along with DaisyUI. DaisyUI is a Tailwind plugin with a super rich component library and an abundance of themes, including basic, light, and dark themes. Our starter will come with a light and dark theme that will be set based on the user's browser preference. However, the user will also be able to toggle the theme with a toggle switch. The purpose of this project is to have a solid foundation to allow us to quickly create Django projects. I will be leaving a link to the starter on GitHub, and I'll also show you at the end of the video how to clone it and set it up properly and get Tailwind CSS working. By the way, if you like my content, please don't forget to give it a like, don't forget to subscribe. Also consider becoming a channel member. Now let's get coding! Let's start out with a new directory where our project is gonna live. I'm gonna call it Django Daisy. Now let's open it in Visual Studio Code. Okay, now let's talk about prerequisites real quick. Of course, we're gonna need Python because we'll be working with Django. So I have the latest version, but if you wanna follow along, you need at least version 3.10. Now, we're also going to need Node. I have the latest version of Node installed as well. Okay, now let's create a virtual environment. So, venv. I'll call it venv. Okay, so venv was created. Let's activate it. So, venv scripts activate. Okay, now let's install Django. So I'll use UV just because it's a little bit faster, but if you're not using it, the command is just pip install Django. Alrighty, so now we have Django successfully installed. So the next order of business is creating a Django project. So Django admin start project. What should we call it? How about daisy seed? You know, because daisies are flowers and it's like a seed for projects. So yeah, daisy seed. I like that name. The scaffolding for daisy seed was created for us. Okay, so let's cd into daisy seed directory. Okay, so now we want to create a bunch of things right off the bat, right? We want to create a templates directory in the root there on the same level as manage.py, where we're going to keep our base.html file. We also want to create a static directory in the base there as well. And that will be where we'll be keeping our CSS files. Okay, so let's begin with creating the templates directory. So make dir templates. Okay, nice. Now the static directory. Make dir static. Excellent. Okay, next up, we want to create a couple of apps. So the first app would be a home app, where we're going to have the view for a home page. So it will help us test that everything is working properly, especially since we'll be creating a navbar with a theme toggle switch. Also, it's gonna be super easy to delete later on if we wanted to. Okay, so let's hit enter. Okay, the home app was created. Next on our agenda is creating a users app or an accounts app, whatever you want to call it. And the purpose of this app is to have a place for defining the custom user model. So py manage.py start app. Let's call it accounts. Not with 3 C's, only 2 C's. Okay. Okay, now let's go to settings.py and tell Django about our templates directory and static directory, as well as our newly created apps. Okay, so in installed apps, let's add home and accounts. Alrighty, next up, let's scroll to the templates list and let's tell Django that we have a templates directory and base there. So over here, we'll just add base there / templates. Okay. And then let's scroll all the way to where we see configurations for static files. And what I usually love to do is just follow this link and copy this line, which just tells Django about where the static directory is, and just paste it. Alrighty, so speaking of static directories, let's go to our static directory. Right now, it is empty. Let's create a directory in it and call it CSS. And inside it, let's create another directory and call it source. And inside it, create input.css. This is going to hold Tailwind import statement. Right now, Tailwind won't work because we haven't installed it yet. Now let's create base.html in the templates directory. And instead of writing everything from scratch, let's go to the Django docs, and I'm gonna copy the example here and just paste it and then change it a bit so that it matches our needs. Over here we have a simple head element with a link to a style sheet. So what we want to do, instead of referencing our style sheet like that, is we would like to use Django's static template tag, which is very convenient as it builds a URL based on the relative path from the static directory. So to use it, we just add load static, and then we add those braces and percentage signs, and write static, and then add the relative path to the output file. So css/source/output.css. Right now this file doesn't exist, but when we install Tailwind and we run the build process, an output.css file will be created. Okay, now let's look at what else is there. So over here, there's div with the ID sidebar. I'm gonna make it a navbar instead, not a sidebar. And I'm going to delete this code. And instead, I am going to create a nav template and include it. I feel like doing this makes the project and files more organized and much easier to maintain. So I'll create a directory called includes, and inside it, I'll put the nav.html file. Okay, for now we can add a paragraph element that says nav. All right, now to include it in our template, we can use Django's include tag, And we just need to write the relative path from the templates directory. So includes / nav.html. Oh, let's remove those extra braces. Okay, now before we forget, let's do a very important thing that we need to do before running our first migration, which is defining the custom user model. We need to import abstract user. As usual, I'm gonna try to get the import statement from the docs and just copy it and paste it. Okay, here it is. Okay, let's paste it. And now let's define class. Let's call it custom user, and it will inherit from abstract user. Okay, and then we'll just type in pass because we don't want to add any extra fields right now or do anything with this. We just want to have it for future proofing. Let's go to views.py and let's start defining our home view. So def home, let's pass in request, and we want to return the home template that we are yet to create. So return render request, and then over here we're gonna write the path to our home template. Let's have it be home / home.html. Okay, and now let's create that template. So let's create a new folder in the home directory, and let's call it templates, and inside it let's create another folder, call it home, and inside it let's create home.html. Okay, and now let's extend base.html, and let's add block content. And over here we could add home. Okay, and now we need to route to our home view. So let's create a new file, call it urls.py. Alrighty, now let's import path. So from Django.urls import path. Okay, now let's create the URL patterns list, and let's add path to our home. We want it to be at the root URL, so we're just gonna have empty quotation marks here, and let's import our home view. So from views import home. Okay, now let's pass in the view, and let's call this path home. Okay, and now we need to tell Django about the URL file inside our home app. So let's go to the URL file that is on the same level as settings.py in the DaisyUI directory. And let's import include. Okay, and let's add path. And we also want our URLs inside the home app to be at the root URL. So we're gonna leave empty quotation marks and we include home.urls. Alrighty, now let's make migrations. So py manage.py make migrations. Oh no, an intimidating red error. Okay, I know what I did wrong. I forgot to tell Django about the custom user model we've created, which is an embarrassing mistake. Okay, so let's go to settings.py, and let's add at the bottom auth user model. I'm copying from the docs and pasting. Now let's set auth user model to the user model we've created, which lives in the accounts app. So accounts dot the name of our user model, which we've called custom user. Okay, and now if we make migrations again, I'm hoping this scary error will not show up. So let's try. So py manage.py make migrations. Okay, let's hit enter. Ta-da! No scary error. And looks like the migration file was created successfully. Ta-da! Okay, cool. Now let's migrate. So py manage.py migrate. Let's hit enter. Did our database get created? Yes, it did. Cool. Okay. Now let's run server. So py manage.py run server. Okay, let's follow link. Yay! We're on the home page. Nice. Alrighty, so the next order of business is adding Tailwind. And we'll be using Tailwind CLI. So let's visit the relevant part of the docs. Okay, before we follow those instructions, we need to create package.json. So let's open a new terminal and let's type the command npm init, and I'll add the Y flag because I don't want to get all those prompts. I'll just answer yes to them all anyways. So the Y flag would allow us to skip all of that. Yay, package.json was created. Okay, now we can follow the instructions. So we want to install Tailwind CSS and Tailwind CSS/CLI. So just copy the command and paste it. Then we need to add this import statement to input.css. So let's go to our static directory, to our input CSS. Oh, we've already added it. I forgot about that. Okay, nice. Now we're gonna need to run this command for Tailwind to stand our CSS files for classes and build our CSS. So instead of typing it every time, we can go to package.json and write a script. Can call it, for example, watch CSS. Just gonna paste it. Let's fix the path to match where our files, our CSS input file is and where we want our CSS output file to be. So our input.css is inside the Daisy seed directory, inside the static directory, inside the CSS directory, inside the source. Yep, this should do it. Okay, and we want our output file to also be created in the source directory. So I'm just gonna copy this bit and paste it. Okay, and now let's run the script. So npm run watch CSS. Oh, ta-da! Output.css is created. Alrighty, so let's go back to our site and refresh and see if there are changes. Yep, looks like Tailwind is working. Okay, so now we want to add Daisy. I love Daisy. So we're at the DaisyUI site. I'm going to click on how to use. So we're going to need to install DaisyUI as a Tailwind plugin. So I'll just copy the npm install command and I'll just paste it. Okay. So first I'll click Ctrl C to end this process. Okay, let's paste. Okay, nice. We installed DaisyUI. Cool. Okay, next up we need to just add this line to our input.css, just under the Tailwind.css import. Okay, and now let's see if DaisyUI works properly. So we know we want to create a navbar. So okay, so let's see if adding a navbar component would work properly. I'm just going to copy the code for this navbar, and I'm just gonna go to our nav.html file, and I'll just paste it. I'll paste the code I just copied, and then let's go back to our site and refresh. Oh, let's not forget to run the watch CSS again. So npm run watch CSS. Okay, let's hit enter. Okay, and now let's hard refresh. Ta-da! Okay, one of the ways in which DaisyUI absolutely slays, in my opinion at least, is its themes. It has awesome out-of-the-box themes, including light and dark themes that are super easy to set up. All you gotta do is just literally add this to your input.css. So let me just show you. So I'll just copy it, and I'll go back to our input.css where we added at plugin DaisyUI, and we're gonna replace it with this line we've copied. Okay, and now let's go back to our site, and let's see if that works. So let's open Chrome DevTools by hitting F12, and let's go to more options here, rendering. In the rendering tab, let's scroll down to emulate CSS media feature prefers dark theme. So I'm just going to click on prefers color scheme dark. See, it just switched. That's nice, right? Okay, let's make it light again, dark. Okay, now how about we add a button here, so users could choose whatever theme they want. Okay, so let's go back to nav.html, and since we're here, let's change DaisyUI for, let's say, a home emoji for home, you know. And let's set href to / so that, you know, when users click on the home emoji, they get redirected to the root URL. Now, let's find a toggle switch, because I might have said button earlier, but what I meant is toggle switch. Yeah, how about this one? So I'm going to just copy the code from the DaisyUI docs, and I'm just gonna paste it here. Okay, let's go back to our site and refresh. Okay, here it is. Now, we want it to be over here, not here. So let's create a div element to keep our home button in. Oops. And let's create another div element for our toggle switch. Okay, and let's give the div that has our home element the class flex1. Flex1 is going to cause this div, the one containing our home button, to expand and fill the available space, which is gonna cause our toggle switch to be pushed to the right. So let's refresh and see if that works. Yay, it did work. Nice. Okay, now just to make sure that our toggle switch div does not expand, let's give the div that holds it the class flex none. Alrighty, now if we refresh, everything should be the same. Okay, how about we get this switch to actually work? Right now it does absolutely nothing. So to do this, to get it to switch the theme from light to dark and from dark to light, we're gonna need to add some JavaScript. We definitely want to add our script to the bottom of the body tag below all our main content, just to make sure that DOM has fully loaded before it runs, so we don't get null errors. So let's go back to base.html and let's define block scripts, which we want to put after the div that contains block content. So block scripts. Okay, let's add and block. Now let's go back to nav.html and override our block scripts. So I'll just copy it and paste it for ease. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is get a hold of our input element. So let's give it an ID. Let's make it toggle switch. Okay, now let's open a script tag and let's create variable theme switch and set it to document.getElement by ID toggle switch. Awesome. Now let's add an event listener on our switch. So theme switch dot add event listener, and we want to listen on change. Okay, so on change we want to check if the toggle switch, which is actually a checkbox that looks like a toggle switch, is checked or not. So let's create variable is checked and set it to theme switch dot checked. So if the theme switch is checked will be true. If the theme switch is not checked, is checked will have the value of false. Before we do anything else, let's talk about what we want to happen. So obviously we want to respect the user's preferences. So we want to find out if the users prefer dark, right? So let's set prefers dark to, let me Google something real quick. Okay, so we'll set it to window.matchMedia prefers color scheme dark. I'm just gonna copy this bit and paste it and then add dot matches. So this way, if the user prefers dark, this will return true. Oh, I forgot to add const here. Okay, so const prefers dark. Cool. Okay, so based on the user's preference, let's create another variable and call it default theme. And if the user prefers dark, then we want to make the theme, to set the theme to dark. So prefers dark, question mark, will be dark. Otherwise, then light, right? Okay, now back to our function. Let's create variable new theme. If the theme switch is checked, so if is checked, then let's have the theme be dark. Otherwise, will be light. Okay, so right now we're just saying light and dark, but in order to change the theme of the actual page, we can use document.element, which returns the element that is the root element of the document, right? Okay, so document.documentElement.set attribute, and the attribute we want to set is data theme, and we want to set it to the new theme. Okay, let's go back to our page and see if that does anything, if it works. Yeah, it did work. That's very nice. Cool. All right, so I wonder if the prefers dark works. So let's open new incognito window. I'm gonna hit F12 and I'm gonna emulate prefer scheme dark. And now let's try to visit our site. So I'll just copy the link and paste it. Okay, it worked. Okay, let's click on the button. Okay, cool. Now, how about we save the user's preference? So maybe they visited our site already before and they changed the theme. So to do this, we can save the theme they picked in local storage. So let's add local storage dot set item, and let's call the item theme and pass new theme. And now let's go back up and check if theme is in local storage. So const saved theme, let's set it to local storage dot get item. The item we want to get is theme. Okay, now let's create a new variable and let's call it current theme. And we want to first set current theme to saved theme if it's there. If it's not there, then we want to set current theme to default theme. Okay, now let's set the theme based on the saved theme or the default theme. So I'm going to copy this line, the document.documentElement set attribute, and we want to set it to current theme. And then we want to reflect the current theme in this checkbox. So theme switch dot checked. We want the theme switch to be checked if current theme is dark. Okay, let's take a look at our code. Okay, I think I should move this up so everything works as expected. So the theme switch is found by this guy. Okay, and now let's go back to our page. Let's refresh. Let's check if everything works properly. Yes, cool. Okay, so let's set it to dark. And now let's open a new window. Ah, it's dark. Very nice. Okay, now let's open an incognito window and let's check. Yay, it is light themed. Let's set it to dark and let's open a new window. It knows it's supposed to be dark. Isn't that cool? Okay, now just in case, let's close all of these guys and go to our site again. It remembered that we wanted dark. Yay, we did it, guys. Excellent work. Okay, so how about we add some styling to the homepage, just because it looks terrible. And I feel like when things look nice, people become slightly happier. Aesthetics affect mood. Okay, so we're not gonna do much. Let's just add a div element around home. And let's give it some Tailwind classes. Like maybe flex and items, center, and maybe justify center as well. Okay, cool. And we want it to be also kind of centered vertically as well. So let's add min height screen. And let's refresh. Ta-da! Okay, now let's have it say there is no place like home. Now let's refresh. Cool. Let's make this a little bigger, not bitter, a little bigger and bold. So class text2l and font, not ont, font bold. Okay, let's refresh. Ta-da! We did it, guys. Okay, I was just thinking that perhaps it would be a good idea to also add a footer. So let's go to base.html and let's create another div. You know what? I'm just gonna copy the div that has our nav and paste it and change some stuff. Like I'll have the ID be footer instead of nav. And we want to include footer.html, which we haven't created, so let's create it. So new file, footer.html. Okay, and now let's go to DaisyUI and let's search for footers. We want a super simple footer. I'm just gonna copy this one and just paste it in here. But instead of having it say that, I just wanted to say created by Pico can fly. And maybe we could link to Pico can fly YouTube channel. So href. Let's set it to the link to the channel. I'll just copy and paste. And let's make the text that says Pico can fly purple. So I'll just set class to text purple, maybe 600. I'm excited to see how that looks. So let's go back and refresh. Ta-da! And if we toggle the theme, it looks like this. Not bad, right? Git push. I created an empty directory and now I'm just gonna clone the repo. Just type the command git clone and just paste the link I just copied, this one. And then I'll add a period so that it gets cloned in this directory. Let's hit enter. Okay, it's cloning. It cloned. Yay, nice. All right, let's create a virtual environment. Py and venv. Okay, now let's activate it. So venv scripts activate. Okay, and now let's install whatever is in requirements.py. So uv pip install r requirements.txt. Okay, cool. Django is installed. Awesome. Okay, and now let's cd into DaisySeed and let's make migrations. So py manage.py migrate. Okay, cool. The database was created. Now let's run server. So py manage.py run server. Okay, let's follow link. Okay, so right now, when I hard refreshed, as you can see, CSS is not working yet. Let's fire up a new terminal. And we want to install the packages in package.json. So npm install, so that we get Tailwind CLI and Tailwind and DaisyUI. Okay, now it's installed. So let's run watch CSS. So npm run watch CSS. Okay, and now let's refresh. Let's hard refresh. Ta-da! It worked. Awesome! Thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a like. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, don't forget to subscribe and consider becoming a member. All right, see you next time. Goodbye.